What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus check update, stimulus package, and infrastructure update and daily news report for Sunday, October 3rd. So here's what's going on today. First, let's talk about some benefit increase that we saw for October. Want to address that. We're going to talk about the stimulus package, give you an update there. Want to address the child tax credits because some people aren't actually putting those into this next bill. I don't know why, but we're going to talk about that. We have an October deadline that I want to get to that Nancy Pelosi addressed. We're going to talk about Social Security increase, and we need to tie that into the supply chain. So we got a lot to discuss today. First off, I just want to thank you guys for always hitting that like button. It really does help out the channel. Also, consider subscribing so that I can continue to keep you updated on everything that is going on. But here's what we know. First, the benefits that we saw increased. For those of you on SNAP benefits or nutrition assistance, food stamps, SNAP benefits just got a 30% increase on average for pretty much since October 1st, so a couple days ago. This is good. This is actually coming from the Biden administration. What we know is roughly 12% of American families are going to be getting these benefits. That's about 42 million people. Now, the program says on average, each recipient is going to get about $36.24 per month as a boost. That goes from this is on average from $121 up to $157 per person. That's actually pretty good. It means we can actually eat a little bit healthier. Meats, okay? Any type of meat, fish, vegetables, that stuff is getting a little bit more expensive. So obviously it makes sense. We see SNAP benefits increase as well. Now, these benefits are going to come alongside the child tax credit payments. They'll be sent separately, but they're going to come at the same time. What you need to keep in mind is that right now the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says that the child tax credit payments will continue to go out. However, and I just want to warn you on this, if the U.S. defaults on their debts on potentially October 18th, that is the current X date, then SNAP benefits could see delays according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. However, according to experts, they indicate that even though these delays would be temporary, we would see delays possibly by days, if not maybe a week or two. It wouldn't be months, but the payments would still come. They could be delayed, but they would still come. So that's the good news there. I will get into more on the child tax credit payment in just a minute because, well, we got to talk about this infrastructure bill. Nancy Pelosi has set a new deadline for the bipartisan infrastructure bill. This is that $1.2 trillion bill. Nancy Pelosi, she told House Democrats in a letter yesterday that Sunday, October 31st, is the time they have to pass the bipartisan bill. And she said, more time was needed to reach our goal of passing both bills, which we will. So I just want to touch on this for a second. Nancy Pelosi says more time was needed to reach our goal of passing both bills. However, Democrats told Republicans that the two bills are not linked together, the two bills will not be tied together, and they can be voted on separately. Even though that's the case, that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening, and this is what has multiple Republicans questioning the fact of, should we even support the bill? And this is according to reports why Nancy Pelosi didn't bring it to the floor. Because it would have passed, it could have passed, not would have. It could have passed because some Republicans were still on the fence of voting for the bill. However, they're still very upset that the two bills are now linked together. So, some reports indicate that Republicans would have voted for it, and if they did and progressives said no, then it could have meant that the bill passed, but with Republican support, which would mean Republicans would actually have something else to campaign on and push back into the face of Democrats. Nancy Pelosi didn't want that. But now the question is, how big will this human infrastructure bill be? And keep in mind, the human infrastructure bill, the social infrastructure package, and the stimulus package are all the same bill. Even the American Families Plan, all the same bill, just different names for it. First, at $3.5 trillion, this was a stimulus package because there's a lot of stimulus for the American people. Now, I don't know if this is really going to be called a stimulus package because of where we're at. Okay, let me address this. Just today, we heard multiple lawmakers speak. One was the U.S. Progressive Caucus chairwoman, Pramila Jayapal. And she was asked, could this bill be passed at $1.5 trillion? She said that's too small. Could it be passed at $2 trillion? Well, she said it will be between $1.5 and $3.5 trillion. And progressives are asked, will you accept something under $3 trillion? Well, they say that's still small. They negotiated from $6 trillion down to $3.5. They thought the negotiation was over. However, it is not. Well, here's what we know. The reports this morning are now indicating that there are plans floating around Congress for a $2.1 trillion human infrastructure bill. This could include additional stimulus. However, not a stimulus check. This is still being considered too small from progressives, but according to experts and according to one Senate aide, they believe that the reason why progressives say this is too small is because they're still trying, it's still early on in the negotiation phase, so they're still trying to figure out how they can get more. So by coming out and saying 2.1 trillion is just too small, they're trying to see if they can bump it up another maybe $400 billion to get it to 2.3 or possibly $2.5 trillion. 2.5 would be the ultimate sacrifice between the two, the moderates and the progressives, right in the middle of 1.5 to 3.5, $2.5 trillion. However, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema do not want to go up that high, and progressives do not want to go that low. This is why we're going to see this is going to take all of October just to get this negotiation done. And once the negotiation's done, then the bill, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, could potentially be voted on. But again, we're still a little bit of ways away. But here's what they say. Right now, when asked, what is your top line number? Nobody has a number. They still say it's not about the top line number just yet. It is about the priorities. And according to Pramila Jayapal, she says, there's no number on the table yet that everyone has agreed to. But it is more so about the priorities within the bill that will make up the top line number. So she actually went on to say that by determining what will be in the bill, what pieces of legislation everybody can agree to, then they can determine the length of time that those pieces of legislation are in place, which will dictate the price. And once they have that, Democrats can go back and look, okay, this is our new top line number based off of all the different pieces of legislation. Well, Democrats say if we have to shorten the time on certain policies, then we will do that in order to make sure we have all of our priorities included. Yesterday, I simply said, now again, this was just off my observation and based off what other experts were saying. Again, I'm no expert. I'm just a guy on YouTube reporting the details and the updates of what we're hearing. But yesterday I said that we potentially will not see them just cut out different pieces of legislation and bring all the different policies in and make them much smaller. Because according to many experts and economists, they say it doesn't make sense to poorly fund different programs because they will not do us justice. So they will not help out the American people like they would if they had more funding. Take the child tax credits, for example. What if we decided instead of $250 or $300 per month, we provided $100 or $150? Right? What if we just cut those in half? Let's do $125 or $150 per month. Would that do the same amount as $250 or $300 per month? No, it wouldn't. Economists say no. That would not help. What if for SNAP benefits, we cut those benefits in half? Would that do the same amount of, help us out the same amount as we're seeing now? No, it wouldn't. Take rental assistance, for example. What if your rent is $1,000, but all you can pay is $500? Would paying $500 every single month get you to where you want to be? No, you'll still be falling further and further behind. And that's kind of the scenario people are talking about is if we don't provide more, then we're just going to be falling further and further behind. Well, that creates another big issue. So right now, here's what we know. Progressives, as of today, as of this morning, according to U.S. Progressive Caucus Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal, she is saying progressives are demanding these main priorities at this time. She says childcare, paid leave, and climate change. Now, I don't know if childcare is just increasing the salary for a childcare worker. I don't know if it's making sure childcare is more affordable. Right? There's paid leave in there. There's climate change. We didn't hear anything about the child tax credit payments. I don't know why. Because this is a bipartisan bill. This has bipartisan support. We didn't see anything in here for affordable housing. I don't know why either, because homelessness is an issue. So we're starting to see these conflicting reports, but this is just what she said. Childcare, paid leave, climate change. So we'll have to see if there's more. But what I can tell you right now is the child tax credit payments are most likely going to be included. Affordable housing will most likely be included. It may not be, $400 billion or whatever it was supposed to be. It might be 100, maybe 200. Anything is going to help. Now, let's get into the cost of living adjustment, the money, the benefits for Social Security recipients. First, sometime in October, do not know exactly when, but we will know the official cost of living adjustment number. Okay? But the current predictions, and this just came out last week, is that multiple groups are setting this number, the cost of living adjustment or COLA, at 6 to 6.1%. That's the current number. The good thing right now is that we're hearing that COLA is right. It's based off of higher inflation numbers and inflation projections, kind of. But the big thing is some groups are anticipating that we will see declines in inflation. We'll see deflation over the next year or two. So potentially we'll see a boost to the cost of living adjustment, but we may see declines in prices on certain products. This will actually be pretty good for those that do receive this benefit because they'll have more income, but their expenses will actually drop, which would be very good. But it all comes down to the supply chain. Once the supply chain issues have been resolved. So let's talk on the supply chain for a second. The worry right now is that too many companies are trying to get their products into the US as quickly as possible. This is because we are seeing shortages all over the place because the holidays are coming up and the American people, what do they love? Well, we love just going into debt, spending money that we do not have in order to buy products and toys and stuff for kids and other people that we may or may not see throughout the rest of the year. American people love it. Well, here's what we know. The problem with this is that right now massive amounts of ships are still waiting in ports just to be, because it's causing issues, just to be offloaded. And not to mention the cost to bring in these container ships, just a regular size, standard size metal container ship, okay, container. This right now, estimates show that to bring in a container from China to the West Coast on the United States costs about $20,586. Just to give you an idea, it was around $10,000 to bring one of these in back in July. It was around $5,000 for the same container back in January. Now I remember getting not a whole container, but I remember shipping items to me over on the West Coast from China in order for me to sell on Amazon. I remember doing this and it was about $2,800, depending on the ultimate weight. But again, $2,800, this was last year. And so prices have really gone up, almost 10 times. It's crazy. So here's the expectations. The expectation is the end consumer is going to have to pay for these increased prices. That is you and I, which means we're going to see higher prices all over the board, which isn't great. And the one thing that you need to understand is that in order to fix these supply chain issues, number one, we have to see manufacturing continue. And this is overseas in China and other countries as well, because that's where the majority of our products are made and are brought in, right? We need to see more truckers to transport the products within the containers, We need to see that warehouse workers are being hired at a faster rate in order to offload these products. Again, the supply chain issues are still ongoing, but experts say at some point, okay, we will see a big change, a massive change. And once we do, it's going to go from too many people want too little of the product to now we have too many products, not enough people wanting them. So the prices will go from high to completely flip around to go to low. So we will see what happens as we get a little bit closer to the holiday season. But as always, as I know more, I promise I will share more. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.